single housing project in Atlanta had a hybrid gang or a non-traditional gang.
And so was it your experience and your training and your education that you received during the time you worked as an investigator that allowed you to see things that you were not able to see prior to gaining that experience?
Yes.
Okay. Now, prior to working as a gang investigator with the City of Atlanta Police Department, did you have any other positions within that department?
Not within Atlanta, yes. Atlanta, but prior to the gang unit, I was at license and permits.
Okay.
I only did that maybe a couple of years. And around that time that I went to the gang unit, I wouldn't say recruited, but I was voluntold that I was going to the gang unit. And because I was doing license and permits and I was enjoying it, but I was able to go over and learn something new. But prior to license and permits, I was investigating Zone 3 CID, Criminal Investigations Division. That's why I did the investigations of the shootings, the carjackings, the armed robberies, burglaries, pretty much the violent crime.
What part of the city does Zone 3 encompass?
Mostly like Zone 3, mostly like southwest of Atlanta, southeast of Atlanta. My beat was actually on Metropolitan Parkway all the way down to Cleveland, which is 308's beat. I did everything, I guess you could say, south of Deal Avenue. I also, when I was in Zone 3, I actually had to assist other beats next to me. So I did go to Cleveland Avenue. I went to Thomasville. I went to Jonesboro South. I went to Mechanicsville, which was McDaniel Glen. So I worked Zone 3 most of my career, which is like, well, gang unit most of my career, but as a patrolman most of my career. I stayed out there about 8 years.
What gangs have you investigated in the city of Atlanta?
Listen, yeah.
Ooh.
How many gangs? Start with you.
MDC, Most Dangerous Clique, out of Bourne Homes Housing Project. We had YM out of 2500 Center Street. We had Bank First Play Later out of Oakland City. We had
shout out to Urban
from Cleveland Avenue. We had Capital Homes had one. I can't remember. It escapes me right now, but it was several. Every single housing. I remember Red Cartel was from Gilbert Gardens, so it was several hybrids that I did when I first came to the gang unit. And my years as an investigator, I saw the gang life in Atlanta evolve and change. I saw where all of my non-traditional hybrids, they actually aligned themselves with traditional gangs. Like somebody from New York or New Jersey drove or flew down here and organized the 9 Trey, Bloods. Somebody came down, organized the Sex, Money, Murder Bloods. But
America case that you talked about in federal court, were you qualified as an expert?
Yes.
Do you remember what year that was?
It was before I left, so it might have been like around maybe 8.
Do you remember if you wrote a report in that case?
I did not. It was actually to help out another special agent that was prosecuting a Fam America member. And it was a Fam America gang member that had, I think, gang paraphernalia or something like that. And they just wanted me to ask on that. And that, just to testify about the gang itself and about the member actually being a member of that person being a member of that gang.
She's just a teacher.
Okay.
If I wrote a report, it had to be that I was actually a part of the investigation. I might have wrote a report then, but I don't write reports just because I testify in a case.
Yes, so my question was inarticulate, and you were right. I'm targeting a report of your background, of your premise, of how the foundation of your opinions, what your opinions are, that type of expert report.
No, I've never written the report. I just get on the stand and actually testify to the actual gang or the.
You never written a report.
How do you become a?
Started back in 2009, and you just go online. You can go online and just submit request an application, I think, or you just fill out the information online. But it's been so long. But I remember going to different meetings, like I said, up in Gwinnett, and I think I heard about it. You can see the little green snakes that they use for the YSL symbols or what have you.
If you can sit here today and say, yeah, I remember how I learned, how did you learn about the green and the red colors?
I learned it just by looking at it and discussing it with other gang investigators. Everything. They want to glorify their gangs so bad that they spell it out for you. They'll put it out on a poster board. Like you said, you holding up a poster saying, I love the Bloods. A lot of the gang members do that. They actually hold up posters on social media saying, I love the Bloods. I'm a Blood. I'm a Sex Money Murder Blood. I'm a Inglewood family Blood, what have you. They actually educate us on the stuff that they do on social media.
Sharing it or learning about it through other coworkers.
Yes, because a lot of times when we do gather intel, we put it in our APIN files. So I can open up
I put it on my
our APIN files.
Yes, I understand.
And say if I didn't know a gang member and his name popped up in maybe a suspect in a homicide, and I go to his profile, somebody else like Investigator Belknap or whoever might have actually put this person in. They enter this person, into our files, and they will actually have photographs from a crime scene document, or if they get a Bible, or like I call it, the SOPs from a gang, and they get it and they upload it into the files.
Bible.
I learned that way. The actual information or documentation that's uploaded into the files.
The co-workers' work that is already being generated.
Exactly. I can use
/Bible.
I've seen something come maybe from GGIA or like GGIA does send out intel where they'll email the whole group stuff that they find, like it might have been the Department of Juvenile Justice or they collect, that kind of intel. They'll upload it and send it in an email to everybody.
Reliable, if you do know it's reliable.
It comes from like another agency, like a law enforcement agency.
But you just trust it because it's come from law enforcement.
Yes.
Do you know the background of where law enforcement got that from? Like a reliable person, a non-reliable person? And if you don't, just say, I don't know.
I don't know, but a lot of times law enforcement will take it just like how I would do on a scene. If I'm on a crime scene, or if I'm doing an investigation and I gather some kind of intel that I want to share with other agencies, then the fact that I guess I am who I am, they either take my word for it or they don't have to.
That
Shout out to Irvin.
You may have, my words, interrogated, spoken with, whatever the correct term is, people that you believe are YSL members or associates, and you use that information for today's testimony. Is that accurate? Did I write that down right? Have you spoken with people?
Excuse me, can you reword the question? Yeah. I'm trying to follow you.
Okay, I think you said this earlier, but I'm just going to ask the question. Have you spoken with people who you believe are YSL associates or members?
I have.
Okay, and my rest of the question was about YSL.
Yes.
And whom are those persons?
I've actually spoken to Jeffrey Williams myself. I've spoken to Shannon myself. I've spoken to, I guess I can call him Casey. Mm-hmm. I've spoken to him. I've spoken to Trantavia Stevens. I've spoken to, a lot of the names escape me, but Terry Rivers. I locked Terry Rivers up for ATM theft, so I never forget him. But different. Over the years, it's been so many. And like I said, the fact that they evolved from Rock Crew to YSL, I did get, I have gotten to, speak to them. I think whenever we arrested Mr. Williams back in 2015, I went out to the mansion that day, and I wasn't, he was in custody, but we was just having casual conversation. It wasn't anything, derogatory or mean, or we was just we kind of got, how can I say this? We kind of got frowned upon from another to him. So, I've never had like a, bad relationship with him. If I saw even when we went to 108 Cleveland, I got pissed off because another officer kind of chunked his phone away. I don't know if you remember that. I got pissed off about that. So I've always liked to treat people like people.
That's why I talk about
the contact that I have had with him. Because I remember him when he was a kid, like he was maybe been 16 or 17, he got shot down on Cleveland Avenue, and I was an investigator at the time.
Yeah.
Then. And a lot of times my interaction is not just, oh, you going to jail. My interaction can be, can you get out of this life? Can you do better? Can you stop doing this? Can you stop doing that? I be trying to be the mama and whooping them out of the game. And some of them listen and some of them don't.
Avenue incident that you talked about.
Here we go.
It had to be like around 11, maybe 2011, 2012. I would have to actually go look it up because it's not in front of me. But I do recall, like I said, the ATMs were like a thing in the city at the time. And I was serious about trying to find out where they were. And I did get them back that day. But I would actually have to research that and get back with you on the exact date because we did document that incident.
You were understanding and investigating Raised on Cleveland, Rock Crew, you said, but then you shifted your attention when about YSL. You were asked about how did it. I wrote down. Listen,
yeah,
I wrote YSL. Is that?
No, that's not what I said. I said that I remember Rock Crew kind of evolving into YSL, but that was around the time that all of the, like I said, my hybrid games or my non-traditional games were being traditionalized, if I can use that word. That was around the time that YSL Rock Crew kind of moved, or YSL at the same time that Sex, Money, Murder Bloods came over to Cleveland Avenue and actually organized the Rock Crew members or the YSL members. But I'm not 100% sure, but it was some kind of split down between Rock Crew because the actual leader of Rock Crew, which was Quentin Porter around that time. And it was like animosity, from what I understand, between him and Mr. Williams. And a lot of them kind of distanced themselves from actually Quentin Porter around that time. And that's around the time that I think YSL kind of took off and went their own separate way from Rock.
The disagreement was that you're talking about?
Yes, I remember Quentin Porter. His name came up because it was a armed robbery on Cleveland Avenue at the barbershop where a famous basketball player was robbed by Rock Crew members. And
not by YSL.
From what I understand, maybe Quentin Porter might have cooperated, or he might have gave up some information, or it might have been another defendant that I had arrested on a separate case that had given information to Porter about where the jury was that was taken in the robbery from Crenton. Javaris Crenton is the guy I'm talking about. But after all of that was said and done, it's like it was a rift because street code is your name better not come up in a discovery package. That's just street code. That's street knowledge. Everybody in the streets. They frown upon you cooperating in any kind of investigation.
Did his term on
this. Shot, laying there dying.
He already did his term.
They're not going to snitch on who shot them because of street code. So I think Porter because of that case, because they felt like he sold them out or he gave them up or what have you.
And that's the split from Rock Crew
to
YSL.
Yes.
Okay. I don't believe you talked about expressions or common terms. So I'm going to just give you a couple terms. If you don't know what they are, don't feel comfortable, just say them.
Okay.
Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yes, that's a term that the Bloods use, and I don't think it's just Sex, Money, Murder Bloods. I think Trey might use slime. I think it's just a blood terminology, just blood terminology.
What does it mean, if you know? And if you don't know, just say, I'm not familiar.
Well, from what I gather, I guess, a term of endearment to each other.
Like friend.
Right. Like,
brothers.
What's up, slime? How you doing, slime?
Okay. How about a slat? Are you familiar with that?
Yes. Slat is slime love all the time. It's kind of like black. The Bloods use black, blood love all the time. So the slime people or the slime gang people will say slat instead of black.
And that again crosses different, I guess, gangs or generations.
I'm trying to remember, does any other, it might be other Blood gang members that scream slime, they might use slat too, but I can't. Don't quote me on that.
I won't quote you on anything.
Mm-hmm.
Did YSL, slime, slat, if you know?
No, because like I said, I've been doing this since 2009. I don't remember I don't remember Rock Crew screaming slat.
Okay. How about the other the other?
I don't remember Rock Crew Screaming Slime either.
How about other associations that you mentioned that use those same?
Like like I said, I didn't really get to see traditional gangs here in Atlanta until the evolution. I did a detail. I can remember myself and Investigator Dabney years ago. We had to do a detail at Piedmont Park where we saw actually Hispanic gangs that were at the park, and it was like some. I can't remember which gang it was, but I remember the crew Screaming Slime either.
How about other associations that you mentioned that use those same?
Like I said, I didn't really get to see traditional gangs here in Atlanta until the evolution. I did a detail. I can remember myself and Investigator Dabney years ago. We had to do a detail at Piedmont Park where we saw actually Hispanic gangs that were at the park, and it was like some. I can't remember which gang it was, but I remember the Rios in person for the first time. That was like our first time actually seeing a traditional gang like back in 2009, because like I said, we didn't really have that we knew of traditional gangs that we had investigated or come in contact with or answer calls to or whatever. So when we saw them, we were kind of excited because we was like, oh, we in the gang, we got to see real gangs, because like I said, back then, the Rock Crews, the MDCs, the YMM, the YGCs, all of those non-traditional gangs, they were not really looked upon as real gangs. Like I would go to juvenile court and try to prosecute LNGM, which was a non-traditional gang, and right, or hanging out with this crew that's actually getting in trouble.
You're referring to like that mother and father with that child?
Yes, it's a tug of war. Like the mother is saying, I don't want you to be a gang member, but the dad was a gang member and he wanted the kid to be a gang member. And now that kid, I hadn't seen that kid again. And I interviewed him, like I said, when he was 12. When he was 17, he shot 5 kids at Thurl High School. And he's gone away for good. So, that's how we're losing kids to the streets. And it's not like we're picking on gangs. That's not, I would rather do intervention and prevention than arrest. We can't arrest our way out of this.
So, regarding your testimony, or you had a discussion with Attorney Steele about how you determine if something that's done is gang related or inferred.
Did he pay dues?
Right. Okay, so I'm going to back up. My understanding, and I don't think you explicitly said it, but I believe it was implied, but I'm going to ask. The gang member who shoots someone that he catches sleeping with his wife.
Shout out to EBAN Films
further into the gang
for this video.
Is an extra.
In my opinion, no.
Okay. A gang member who and pushing the proceeds into the gang, that would be in furtherance of the gang in your expertise.
Yes.
Okay. What about a gang member who has gang tattoos, who is selling drugs to pay his rent and not pushing any into the gang itself?
If the way I look at it is, if he's paying any kind of dues to that gang and that's his only form of employment, if the only way he's making money is selling drugs, he has to give a portion of it to the gang as far as his dues, because traditional gangs have dues. So I would say that the proceeds from the dirty money that goes over to the gang would be furthering the gang.
Well, you said traditional gangs pay dues. What about a non-traditional?
If a non-traditional gang is not paying dues, and like you said, it is a single drug dealer that's actually just only using the money for themselves, then I would say no on that situation. But I think it's case-by-case basis. So if it's just you and you standing on the corner by yourself and you selling drugs and you paying your rent, I would not say that would be in furtherance of the gang.
In the language that they use, slang.
A former Atlanta police detective who worked in the department's gang unit took the stand. The witness was not shown on camera, but she detailed her prior experience as a gang investigator.
Even on graffiti, we would see graffiti being crossed out if in certain neighborhoods that we knew a particular gang operated in, we would see the next day they have an X through it.
Prosecutors are hoping the witness, who is also a court-certified criminal street gang expert, can help them convince the jury that YSL is a gang.
Do you classify Young Slime Life, or YSL, as a criminal street gang?
Yes.
Defense attorneys claim YSL is not a gang, but simply the name of a record label. They took issue with many of the questions the state had for the witness.
Just a lot of time consumption.
Prosecutors also asked the witness, while she worked for the Atlanta Police Department, if she recalls certain groups committing crimes.
Rock Crew, early on in Young Slime Life, we investigated numerous crimes from robberies to auto thefts.
Throughout this trial, defense attorneys have said the defendants are not responsible for any of the crimes presented in court.
Have you ever testified or been qualified as an expert by a court involving any YSL or alleged YSL gang associates or members?
I don't believe so. I don't believe I have, but I can't recall for sure for YSL specifically.
Your Honor, at this time, the state tenders Detective Belknap is an expert in the field of criminal street gang recognition.
These are resources that take a stand.
Investigation, identification, and practices. Recognition, investigation, identification, and practices.
Before we begin any cross, I'll grant a Weinstein pause at this point in time. Let's take 10 minutes, please.
Yes,
Y'all, in these particular videos that I'm showing right now, y'all, the experts.
Holiday, sir.
Thank you.
In the trial, they're supposed to be.
How are you?
Well, and yourself?
Gang experts. But to me, they're not gang experts. They are resources. Resourcers.
Correct me if I'm wrong, please. I don't have any written report from you. Is that accurate?
I've not made a written report in this case, no, sir.
And in this case, it's your position, and when I say you, it's your teammates, it's the prosecution team. Would you agree you're on the prosecution team in this case?
Objection, Your Honor.
I'll sustain the question. I'll sustain the question.
Okay. Are you an integral member of the prosecution team in this case?
Objection, Your Honor.
Same thing, sustain the objection.
Do you work closely with the prosecutors on this case from the District Attorney's Office in Fulton County?
Objection, Your Honor.
What's the relevance of that, Mr. Steele?
Bias and his knowledge.
I know.
We're trying to remember, this is a dauber. This is not bias or anything else at this point in time. So I'm gonna sustain the
Why he can't ask that question?
Now, this case, if you know, is
This ain't no
are you familiar
Rico.
with the indictment?
I'm familiar with it, yes.
Okay. And you're being asked to testify, I heard, parts of your direct about YSL. Is that fair to say?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, is YSL fit into a traditional gang as you believe you understand that term?
I would not classify them as a traditional gang.
Okay.
So no book of knowledge, no organizational
Now.
chart, is that? And if I'm wrong, just say no, you misunderstand.
Sure. So I actually have seen some books of knowledge related to YSL.
But you said they're not a traditional
But
gang.
I have not seen one that I know of from the defendants in this case.
What does that mean?
I don't understand the question.
I don't understand what you were saying. What does it mean? I've seen a book of knowledge for YSL. I have not seen one on the accused in this case.
So I've seen some books of knowledge related to YSL recovered from the Department of Juvenile Justice. But what I have not seen in my experience, we have not recovered any books of knowledge from the defendants in this case.
Where is the book? Was that, if you're familiar?
No, that's right.
That
What is the book of knowledge?
In this case, was it provided to the accused?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the end of the question.
Was that book of knowledge that you referred to from juvenile justice?
Thank you.
Provided to the accused in this case?
Relates to the answer given, not singular.
Yeah, let's rephrase that one, Mr. Steele. I'll state it as the form, okay?
I do. Where is the book of knowledge that you're referring to that has nothing to do with people in this case?
Yeah, again.
Come on! He got.
Sustain the objection.
He got.
Sure, you can rephrase it. I think there's a couple questions you'd probably ask him.
Okay. Do you know where this book of knowledge is that you're referring to?
Again.
He got to answer the question.
A single thing, answer given was
He said he got that book of knowledge.
No, I'll sustain the objection. Why don't you rephrase it, make it specific as to what you're.
He said about the book of knowledge.
Trying to solicit.
Okay. I'm trying to solicit, by the way, under 24-7-702B2, the data that this man's relying upon, this witness relying upon.
The what?
The data.
Data. Okay.
I don't think the judge know what he's doing.
Data. He's bringing up the data point. All right. Do you know if this book of knowledge from juvenile justice exists?
Yes.
Where is it?
It would be in the possession of the Department of Juvenile Justice.
Which count?
I don't know where it currently would be.
But you don't have it. You don't have possession of it.
I don't.
Okay. When was this supposed book of knowledge that you're referring to discovered?
I don't recall the date of it because
you don't know it don't exist.
What you're getting at,
it doesn't exist.
I don't believe it's relevant to this particular case.
Why?
Determine what's relevant, Detective Belknap, okay?
Yes, sir.
All right, so answer his question if you can.
Thank you, Judge.
So, to the extent that I understand your question, would you mind asking it again?
Yeah. What date? When did this book of knowledge appear in juvenile justice?
I don't recall the specific date when it was recovered.
I don't need a specific. I need a month, a year, something like that.
There have been several recovered over the past several years. That's as specific
as
it's
no existence.
Unfortunately.
Did you read these items that you're talking about?
I have.
Does it go into your basis that you're trying to articulate to this honorable court so the Honorable Chief Judge Glanville can make a determination of your qualification?
No, sir.
Okay, so that's gone.
Correct.
Okay.
Hey, y'all check this out.
All right.
What y'all think about this?
So going back to my original question, a traditional gang, book of knowledge, I know you brought that up, but I'm ignoring it for now. I'm not going to rely on that. I'm going to argue against it. Anything else that makes YSL, in your, as you sit here, a traditional gang, and if it's not a traditional gang, just say it's not a traditional gang.
I'm going to object as to mischaracterization.
I'll sustain the objection, Mr. Steele. You're kind of conflating a couple of things, so I'll sustain this to form.
I believe I did, but I'm going to rephrase. Is YSL a traditional gang?
I would not classify them as a traditional street gang.
Okay. Y'all hear that?
Now, the testimony you gave before this honorable
now, one expert said they was a traditional gang. That's what the first expert said, Kimberly said, that YSL was a traditional gang. And he just said YSL isn't a traditional gang. Y'all see the experts, where they get these experts from? Where are they getting these experts from, y'all? Are they just getting somebody, the prosecutor just picking somebody to get up here and do these hearings for them?
And I have your resume. I don't know if it's still in front of you, but It seems to me, but, you know, it's very vague to me. Were you focused on traditional gangs going back to 2009?
Objection, Your Honor. The question is vague. I'm not certain what is meant to ask. Will you focus on?
I'll stay in question, Mr. Form. Just rephrase.
In your okay, sorry, Your Honor. Sorry. In your testimony today, going back to, I believe it was 2009, just change the year if I'm wrong. Were you focused on traditional gangs as you articulated before the Honorable Judge Graham?
Your Honor, objection as to vagueness.
What?
I'll allow it. Can you answer that?
I'm honestly not sure specifically what you're asking.
He asked you about the
2009,
traditional.
let's just use that year. Is that the first year you studied gangs? That's what I heard.
No, sir. I had previously had interactions with street gangs prior to 2009, and as well as training and experience.
Go back. The first time. What year is it?
2005 or 6.
Okay. In that year, are we talking about your training experience that you're referring to? Is that traditional gang? That's what I'm asking.
Your Honor, objection as to vagueness. There's not a person that can even ask it.
I'll sustain Mr. Form. Go ahead and rephrase that, sir.
In 2005, did you study anything dealing with a non-traditional gang? That's my question.
Yes.
Okay, what?
In 2005, I would have been in the Atlanta Police Academy, which included training on criminal street gangs.
But what specific?
Non-traditional, he said.
What specific non-traditional?
Thank you.
Teachings are you focused on? Are you talking about?
Objection as to vagueness.
And she taking up for them. Just answer the question.
During the Atlanta Police Academy, we were given training on criminal street gangs, including categories or types of criminal street gangs.
He don't know about that.
Specific non-criminal street gang, because that's what you're saying YSL is. That's what you're saying, correct?
What is she talking about?
I don't think he's gotten to it yet. So, I stay in the question.
You know what, y'all? I'm going to stop it right here because, okay, look. The expert don't even know the difference between a traditional and a non-traditional game. Ain't that something? Okay, y'all, let me show y'all this. Just in case, we're going to put some education in here, okay?
Are you referring to be specific?
Okay, good people. Real deals. The difference between a non-traditional game and a traditional game. First, I will give you the definition for a non-traditional game. A non-traditional game, these groups have little organization, okay? Usually involved into a traditional game. Are unique to a local area. Sometimes these gangs call themselves a rap group to avoid the stigma and the law enforcement attention that traditional gangs attract. Now, that's the definition for a non-traditional gang, okay? It's a small, they trying to get up something. They're a little small organization like the E-Rocks. I guess I'm pronouncing it right. That joined the YSL. They was a small gang. So what they did was they involved themselves with a traditional gang, which is YSL. Okay? So that's your definition for a non-traditional gang. These groups have little organization. And that's the organization was so rough and tough in doing all that out there in the street until when they got in the YSL traditional group, they messed it up for them. Now, that is the definition for your non-traditional game. Okay? That's the definition. Now, let's get to the traditional game. The traditional games. Now, he asked the guy to the why did you call YSL a traditional game? Well, it's a traditional game. He couldn't answer this question. So since Lanita couldn't answer the question, she looked it up. But he had training. He should know what a tradition, the difference between a tradition and a non-traditional game. Okay? The traditional game keeps generating itself and contains clear subgroups, usually separated by age. These are usually large games and are territorial in their strong identification with their turf. Okay? The neo-traditional game resembles the traditional form, but has not exist alone. It may be medium size. So this is the definition for a traditional game. He trying to say that Young Thug game keep regenerating itself and contains clear subgroups like the E-Rocks. I hope I pronounced that group right that join them, okay? And you could tell the age different, okay? So that's your definition, y'all. So you have been educated of non-traditional games and a traditional game. That's your definition. The tradition is the biggest, okay? So what we're going to do here is go back to the question where this man's supposed to be a game expert that don't know how to answer Mr. Steele's question. Let's see, have he finally thought about his books? Answer that question, what is a traditional game?
Atlanta Police Academy, we get a block of instruction on criminal street gangs, recognition, identification, and that sort of thing.
Can you be specific?
Thank
saying I study the law.
Objection as to that.
Well, they got to be a...
I sustain the objection.
Can you be specific in 2005 and 6?
Objection. Question has been
Asked
asked.
and answered.
I don't believe it's been answered.
Well, you've asked the same question, I think, 3 times.
Well, he didn't answer, Judge.
So could you move on to something?
No.
2007, 8, and 9. What specific writing can I look at where you are focused on a non-traditional gang?
Thank you.
Objection as to the statement.
What is that got to do with it?
Writing Mr. Steele can look at is.
I sustain the question.
That's not me.
Judge, I can't believe
What
you're
is
doing
the
that.
writing you're referring to? 2006, 7, and 8. Or 7, 8, and 9.
I object as to vagueness there as well. Asking the witness what writing is referred to.
This?
There's no.
Let me just ask a question, Mr. Steele. Detective Belknap, are there any writings that you relied upon in 2006, 7, or 8 that relate to your opinion?
If writings include training, as we've discussed previously, then yes, certainly.
Okay.
Where are those writings?
And I want to make sure I'm answering the correct question.
Oh, he don't need to know the
Writings I
answer.
referred to from that time period, but I did, as we discussed from my CV, received at least 2 training courses in 2000.
He don't know the answer.
Related to criminal street gangs. One being that criminal street gang.
Okay, y'all, I want to stop it right here. I just want to tell y'all, this is not even a RICO. You don't even have no experts up here who jeopardizing these boys, young men's life. And y'all people should back them boys up. I don't care if you're blood or crib, but the thing is, you wouldn't want to be locked up for nothing. These experts ain't nothing. He don't even know the difference between a non-traditional game and a traditional game, and he had training. Y'all, I'm out of here, okay? Tell me what you think.